So this right here is John Stanky. And this gentleman over here, nice to meet you, sir. This is Jason Killer. And these are the two gentlemen who, as a chance occurrence, incidentally speaking, are the two guys who are destroying DC Comics and thus the entire comic book industry. Nice to meet you two guys. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry and YouTuber who has been predicting the future of the comic book industry for about 18 months, much to the scorn, derision, ridicule, mockery of my peers. If I had any peers, they would be scorning me for saying that because AT&T purchased Time Warner, which owns DC Comics and DC Entertainment, and because AT&T purchased Time Warner with a tremendous amount of debt and some pressure from Elliott Hedge Fund Management, the DC Comics was not long for this world. They only purchased this company in order to create a streaming service to compete with Netflix. Netflix brings in $20 billion a year. AT&T is in tremendous debt. In fact, they purchased Time Warner for $100 billion plus all their debt. These guys are buried with debt. They are a soulless, gigantic corporation, and they are beginning to divest themselves of companies that are in the way, that are not quite important or necessary towards their goal of making HBO Max into a worthy competitor for Netflix. That is what this whole thing is about. Now, if you know these facts, if you understand the competing pressures, the goals, the visions of the people in question, the people who are behind this, and those people, of course, John Stanky and Jason Killer. I love how their names are Stanky and Killer. I mean, you couldn't. This is like a movie. This should be, honestly, let's make a movie about this and put it on HBO Max, and maybe it'll pull AT&T out of debt. If you knew what these guys wanted to do, you would not feel so safe for the comic book industry. Now, DC Comics, of course, is anywhere between 33 and 40% of the comic book industry's budget. I mean, that's all of the DC Comics is vital. I mean, it's more than a third of everything that comic books brings in. It is the industry. If it goes away for any reason, the rest of the comic book industry is going to collapse like a deck of cards, or like a house. Not a deck of cards. That wouldn't collapse. A house of cards, and Warner Media doesn't care. Jason Killer just announced recently that as part of the, and I think he's using COVID as an excuse here, just like many people are. Many people are excusing their failure or bad behavior or choices, on COVID. But Jason Killer decided that what he's going to do is, following in the footsteps of releasing Wonder Woman 1984 to theaters and HBO Max at the same moment, he is going to do the same thing with all of Warner Brothers movies next year. And these are some great movies. Let me see here. You got to see this. Are you kidding me? Okay, Godzilla versus King Kong, Suicide Squad, the second one, Conjuring, what is that? Conjuring the 8, Part 8? Who knows? Wonder Woman 1984, obviously, Dune, Matrix 4, Those Who Wish Me Dead, I don't know what that is. This is the big one for me, The Many Saints of Newark. I'm a huge Sopranos fan. This is a prequel to the Sopranos TV show. I will not be missing this. This is going to get me to subscribe to HBO Max. All of these movies are not going to hit theaters exclusively. They are going to be available same day on the HBO Max streaming service. And the reason for this is that Jason Killer wants to grow HBO Max. Nothing else matters. He predicts that going to the movie theaters is a thing of the past. And while he won't necessarily say that, his behavior, his actions, and the things that he and John Stanky have in common that make them work together, their philosophy, makes it clear that is what he believes in. Now, let me look at this article. Warner Media CEO Jason Killer doesn't think he just destroyed the movie theater industry. Everybody else does. You got to be kidding me. Warner Media's CEO Jason Killer refused to say whether his decision to release all 17 2021 Warner Brothers films will last beyond 2021. And yeah, he was just like, I don't even think about 2022. This is just 2020. This is a lie. Okay, this is definitely, if HBO Max is incredibly successful, you can forget about Warner Brothers releasing movies into the theaters in 2022. All right, so he says his decision is pandemic related. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure. Had nothing to do. It's just the pandemic just happened to serve the goals of AT&T pretty pretty awesomely. Okay, let me see here. So on Thursday, AT&T's Warner Media announced it would release its entire 2021 slate of films directly on HBO Max at the same time they hit theaters. Investors and industry watchers greeted it as earth-shattering news. AMC Entertainment fell 16%. Cinemark fell 22%. Jason Killar's like, hey, you're overreacting. You guys, just calm your tits, everyone. Settle down. Everyone should take a breather. Let's take the next 6, 8, 10 months. Let's let them play out, and then let's check back in. Okay, so this is precisely the message that DC Comics is telling the comic book industry, and I think this is also probably the message that AT&T is conveying to DC Comics. Yeah, we're going to try some things. We're going to try some big things. They're going to involve some pain, okay? And we're going to fire 45% of our staff at DC Comics. But then we're going to just chill. Let's just see how things play out for the next 10 months or so, and let's see how that goes. Now, that is definitely the case here also with HBO Max and everything that they're doing. Killar blamed the pandemic, said he doesn't know. Look, he's like, hey, I don't know haven't expended one brain cell on what the world's going to look like in 2022, you mugs. I learned long ago not to make statements over a year from now. That is true. Things change so quickly. Who could have predicted the pandemic? Who could have predicted any of this? So who knows? Still, Warner Media may have just pulled the genie out of the bottle. The decision to kill next year's theatrical window is in line, like I said, with Killar's greater mission to turn HBO Max into a global streaming behemoth that competes with Netflix. Now, this is a big deal. Netflix brings in $20 billion a year. And that is what everyone is envious of. Everyone's counting Netflix's money. Everyone's looking at Netflix going, why aren't we Netflix? Why can't we be Netflix? Why are we working so hard? Dealing with movie theaters, with, why is our revenue stream so diverse when we could just be Netflix? Even if the move becomes permanent, Killar doesn't believe that ending the theatrical window would spell doom for the movie theaters. He says, I have conviction that for the next several decades, there will be a very large volume of consumers worldwide that'll choose on any given night, especially a Friday or Saturday night, to go to a theater to be entertained by a great Warner Brothers movie. Yeah, it's going to be a weird thing when they do. Why would anybody go see a first-run movie at the movie theater? I mean, aside from let's just have a special experience, there's no reason to go to a movie theater to have seen a movie that you're waiting to see when you could just pop it on at home and be comfortable and maybe pause it and go to the bathroom and not miss anything. There's any number of reasons why you would rather and prefer to stay home and watch movies than go out and see movies. This will kill the movie theater industry. Killar also noticed that international movies, which generates the bulk of box office revenue, will be first released in theaters. All right, so this is just in the United States. HBO Max will debut globally next year. So don't worry about it. 2022 is when the rest of the world is going to be able to get their movies on HBO Max first run. But for the next year, the global box office is going to still rely on going to see these movies in theaters. Killar believes other entertainment companies, Disney, Lionsgate, they're all going to do the same thing. That spells doom. Utter doom, guys. I mean, look around. Movie theaters are going to be a thing of the past. If movie theaters are going to be... Imagine me saying 18 months ago, your movie theaters are a thing of the past. They are going away, and they're going away sooner than you could have ever imagined. You guys would have said, Ethan's nuts. Ethan's paranoid. Well, I said the same thing about comic books for the same reason. Paper comic books, publishing comic books, comic book stores, all of that stuff is going away. And the reason why is because you've got these guys here who are visionaries. These two guys, I agree with them about a lot of stuff. John Stankey's vision is customer service first. John Stankey's vision is streaming. It's direct to consumer, and he thinks everything else is going away. And of course it is. Ever since the internet was created, things are bound to change. This guy, Jason Kilar, of course, also believes in customer service. His attitude is that HBO will provide such great customer service that it will succeed. If we're only thinking about the customers at all times, then we will succeed. Now, this guy got his job in a rather cutthroat way. His attitude about HBO Max being something that could compete with Netflix is something that is in line with John Stankey's vision and dreams for AT&T and Warner Brothers. And it started out like initially this way. John Stankey had a guy, HBO CEO Richard Plepler, set him down. And HBO again is the big prize. It wasn't Warner Brothers. It was always going to be HBO. That is what AT&T had their eye on. HBO makes a lot of money, evidently. Okay, so he said, let's talk about our plan. HBO was the crown jewel of Time Warner, which AT&T had recently acquired for $100 billion with debt. It took 2 years in a legal battle with Trump to close the deal. Oh, I'm so sure. It was the biggest media acquisition since the last time Time Warner was acquired, when America Online, and look where they are now, paid for them with $162 billion. All that effort and money was a bit confounding to people. Why did a telephone company need to own a premium content business now? Stankey, a driving force behind the acquisition's integration, was the clear favorite to take over as the next CEO of AT&T. Its success or failure would hinge on HBO, which already had more than 300 million subscribers and a sterling reputation in Hollywood with consumers. Yeah, I love HBO. Some of the best shows ever made have been on HBO, and the high budget shows with the best talent in the world. All of my favorite shows, I think, are from HBO, except for Twin Peaks and X-Files. Okay, according to 5 people familiar with the meeting, Plepler laid out a simple path forward. So this is the guy who's saying, this is what HBO can do for AT&T. This is where we go from here. First, give us money to spend on content. We can make Rome again. We can make Deadwood. We can make these great shows if we have some bucks to play with. Second, augment the Cinemax premium TV channel with more family-friendly original library and licensed children programming, and then combine them together. Sell HBO and Cinemax together for a couple dollars more than HBO, $17 a month. Fourth, hammer out a deal with Comcast, the largest U.S. cable company, allowing the broadband distributor to sell HBO Go, okay, which is kind of like a streaming service, but not really. You can see any of the HBO shows at any time, directly to broadband-only customers. And finally, and most importantly, don't blow HBO up. Okay, so Plepler's team estimated that this plan would guarantee, ready, $7.5 billion in annual revenue, but that's only $7.5 billion. Do you understand? That is not. That is very limited. That is not what they're hoping to make from HBO. All right, Stankey heard them out, then he ignored them. Stankey had bigger ambitions for streaming video. Less than 3 months later, Plepler announced he was leaving. I'm leaving. Warner Media, yeah, crying in the middle of the day with all your stuff under your arm. He was fired. Instead, Stankey decided to use HBO as the centerpiece for a new mission, build a true Netflix competitor dubbed HBO Max. Stankey took over as AT&T CEO this year, and then boom, he's got Jason Kilar and HBO Max. That was their plan. Okay, so let's old HBO, shut the F up. This is the future. HBO Max competing with Netflix. Along the way, Stankey has dismantled the old Time Warner, spurring dozens of executives from all parts of the company to depart, including everybody that we saw at DC Comics. We're like tiny little ants on the surface of the earth going, what happened? Somebody kicked over our anthill. DC Comics and the comic book industry is so very, very small, and we have zero control over these giants that are walking on us right now, and that's essentially what's going on. We have to just kind of go, well, I don't know. I'm not. We have no control over this. We have no power. We have no financial power. Nobody cares about comic books, and if AT&T wants to, and they will, they are going to divest themselves of their publishing business. Elliott Hedge Fund is going to make them. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So all of this, why? Why would he? Because we're funneling all of the resources, all of the company's resources from cable, film, and HBO into HBO Max. This is where it all is. We get all of this stuff. We get rid of the stuff that is costing too many resources, and we just pour it all of our energy into this one project here. All right, so Disney, Comcast, Viacom, CBS are all going through similar changes now to prepare for a world where subscription streaming services overtake cable as the world's primary form of television consumption. This is it. This is the future. Stanky, the NBA buzzword deep voiced phone guy, was way ahead of the trend. So these two guys, like I said, Stanky and Killer, they have the same vision here. They mean to do the same thing. All right, but there have been clashes, there have been problems. For now, investors don't like what they see. AT&T is trading near a 10-year low, while Verizon, AT&T's closest competitor, is trading at near an all-time high. The most glaring difference between the two companies, Verizon didn't spend $170 billion buying Time Warner and DirecTV in the past 5 years. Yeah, I mean, that would that would save you a little bit of money. This is the story of the transition. All right, so this is all about Netflix envy. Plepler was aiming too low. He wanted to generate $7.5 billion, which was 12% more than HBO's eventual 2019 revenue. So it would have been a nice bump up, but that wasn't enough. It's a far cry from, here it is, the $20 billion that Netflix generates. This is all about this here. This was a bird in the hand. This is two in the bush, so to speak. Stanky told Plepler he wanted a direct-to-consumer solution that could get to at least 60 million subscribers in 5 years. HBO subscriptions had fallen from 37.5 million in 2017 to 34.5 million in 2019. And I think anybody would look at that and go, yeah, that's because people are using Netflix more. It is streaming now. Over the same time, Netflix global subscriptions jumped 50% from 111 million to 167 million. If Stanky could convince investors that HBO Max would mirror Netflix growth trajectory, he might be able to capture a higher trading market for AT&T. This is the holy grail for media companies this decade, convincing Wall Street that streaming growth will make up for the decline of legacy businesses like cable TV and movie theater viewing, and also comic books, okay? And it's so small. We're so small we don't even really get mentioned in this. It's also a strategy supported by AT&T's most notable investor, activist hedge fund Elliott Management, which last year bet $3.2 billion that divesting non-core assets, okay, and focusing on streaming could lead to a surge in AT&T shares. So you see that Elliott Hedge Fund is influencing the thinking of John Stanky. He's saying get rid of all of this garbage, focus entirely on streaming, and that is what's happening. All right, yeah, Plepler was attached to a fading distribution model. Things that are old HBO, the way things subscription-based television, cable services, that's old, that's outdated. And again, read between the lines. This also means everything that we do is old and outdated. Okay, so the difference in approach showed up last month when Warner Media struck a deal to put HBO Max and Amazon Fire on TV. They've still got to deal with Amazon Fire, which is crazy. And so HBO Max launched in May. It's only $15 a month, the same as HBO, and an ambitious tagline where HBO meets so much more. 31 new originals with libraries of programming. Look, West Wing, The Bachelor, South Park, all this stuff is going to be there. Okay, so all of this stuff. Look, more than 1,000 employees fired in November. Everyone is getting the axe. We've seen that happen. But yeah, this is great. I mean, all of these movies, this one right here, again, Many Saints of Newark, I'm going to be subscribing to see that. But this is the punchline here. Almost all the executives who spoke to CNBC, including several still at Warner Media, felt the HBO Max experiment isn't going particularly well so far. Check this out. Only 8.6 million people have signed up to activate the service since it launched in May. Compare this to Disney, which has signed up to 73.7 million people in less than a year. People wanted Disney. Why? Was it The Mandalorian? Probably, yeah, Disney. Abe, that is failure. Jason's belief is, wrongly, if any piece of content available anywhere other than HBO Max, it cheapens HBO Max. Everything's got to be only available on HBO Max. Jason is foregoing billions in revenue by turning his back on licensing to preserve content for HBO. which is kind of what he's been directed to do, though, by John Stankey. By pricing HBO Max the same as HBO, Stankey seemed to assume HBO users would simply switch to HBO over time, but the transition has been slow, as pay TV and streaming distributors, once HBO's needed partners, have little incentive to market HBO to the millions of people who already get HBO. The risk here is they end up pouring all of their Warner Brothers Studios content into HBO Max, only for it to continue to be a premium service that serves only the top third of households. There's a real risk that 1 + 1 + 1 = 1 here, and that all that will be left of Warner Media when they're finished is an HBO division that is more or less the same size as... That's a great picture there. Okay, the one problem is HBO Max has no tentpole original series like Mandalorian, and that's something. All right, so things are not going very well, and now we've got we've got this. AT&T predicted to sell off Warner Media and DC Comics. That is the next step. That is if HBO Max continues to flop. This is the inevitable outcome. And it would be probably the best thing that could happen to DC Comics, because maybe they could be sold to another corporation that was less driven to do streaming and was more interested in continuing publishing. I don't know who that would be, honestly. I have no idea, but who knows? All right, so that's where we are right now, everyone. It is it is crazy out there. It is absolutely crazy. Thank you for watching this. Any comments, please leave them below. Again, like, subscribe. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, share this video. But tell me what you think about this. How do you think? Do you think HBO is going to catch up? I mean, once they release Wonder Woman 1984, are they going to see a surge in subscriptions? Next year, with all of the movies going to HBO Max, do you think that's going to help them catch up to Disney Plus? And is Jason Killer a lunatic? Is John Stankey Stanky? Let me know, and I'll be back later with another video. Take care. New from All Caps Comics: Rainbow, the Brute, the last real man in fairyland. A tale of prismatic pain, a spectrum of brutality, and a pretty good dad. Choke slam a unicorn by backing it today, only on Indiegogo. Hey, you want to follow me on Twitter? Are you sure? Well, if so, I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. That's at Ethan Van Sciver. See you there. Hey, I got a P.O. box. Want to send me some mail? Send it to Ethan Van Sciver, P.O. Box 607, Marlton, New Jersey, 08053. And I'll probably open it up on the live stream. Thanks very much, everyone.